How's it going, everyone? So today we have this Stihl backpack blower. It's a BR450. The owner says he's had this machine for quite a while and he was using it and it just stopped running and he can't get it started again. Now, he told me he has newer Stihls and he does not like them. He will use them, but he does not like them. He's given me the authority to pretty much do whatever it takes to get this to run. New motor, new piston, new absolutely anything, and we'll see what we have to do. I'm hoping it's just a fuel problem, but let's find out. Primer bulb is broken. Fuel is blue, so that's good. That's a sign that they do have oil in there. It is very blue, so maybe they put a hair too much oil in there. A hair too much is a lot better than too little. So let us go ahead and pull on the recoil. Kind of weird. Luckily for the owner, I don't think we have a motor problem yet, but this is a T-something worn off. We're going to take off the air filter cover and see what everything looks like. Oof. It doesn't look bad, but there's like mold growing on it. In the Northwest, during the winter time, it's always wet. Even when it's not raining, it's somehow still raining. Let's take off the plug. There we go. Oh no. Well, two things just happened. One, the spring was completely attached to the plug and it fell off somewhere. Two, when looking at, obviously this came out, the wire. When looking at the wire, it is charred, especially towards the end. So I think what we have going on here is the coil going bad. So let's take and put this on the ground without you watching. I just want to feel the engine, make sure it's okay. Engine's fine. I don't really feel too much of anything going on in there. So I was able to find the spring. I'm kind of wondering if it is fried or just is a little dirty. However, we need to do at least the carburetor. So I'm gonna get the carburetor ordered. I'm gonna put this back together. I'll do that later when the carburetor gets here. But the primer bulb is trashed. Carburetor probably is trashed. If that had mold growing on it, I'm going to get a new carb ordered, new primer bulb, and we very well might even just do a new coil. I don't know about that one, but we'll see how much it is. Now, don't take this the wrong way. I'm not one for conspiracy theories, but I feel like every single time I call for, especially an older Stihl item, not even old, but anything that's not a BR600 or 800, there's always a back order, always an issue, always a delay. But if I needed anything for like a BR600 or 800, no problem. Granted, I'm sure that's just what they're making right now, but it just seems odd that they don't carry any of their older parts around anymore. Trying to make you buy the new ones. Yeah, that looks exactly the same, except just cleaner. And the quality seems to be basically on par. Thickness of the plastic seems pretty decent. I don't think we're having a problem with that, or this. Next is the fun part. We need to take off this cover. Sometimes Stihl really likes to hide the screws. And really tighten them too, wow. There has to be another one. It can't just be two. Or can it? No. Oh, it's just covered in dirt. Oh no. Even with my extended socket, I can't reach it. I'm gonna have to get an extension. Okay, now that I have a hilariously long tool, let's go ahead and take out all the little screws. Actually, it looks like we didn't even take the one that I took down there. That one, well, we probably do with the carburetor, so no harm, no foul, I suppose. Anyway, we now have access to the coil and the carb. Ugh, I don't think I got one of these in the kit that I bought, which is very unfortunate. There we go. I'm not necessarily a fan of the quality of this, but it is better than the current one, and it's supposed to work. So, well, let's go ahead and get started, shall we? Should we start with the carb? I'm just thinking so. Let's grab a needle nose pair of pliers. We'll probably need that for the fuel lines. I forget if there's fuel in here. There is, and it looks pretty clean. Now, let's take off everything that we need to. Inevitably, there'll be someone saying that they don't trust aftermarket stuff, and I'm not going to argue that. I don't really trust it either. But this is the decision of the owner with input from myself. Aftermarket works one of two ways: perfectly fine or really not good at all. So, you know, you really just have to weigh your options. In a worst case scenario, if it doesn't work, guess what? You just take it back or return it. Okay, so we started off a little wrong, but let's take off the carb now. Oh my god. Of course it's 5/16 or 8mm. Yes, because that was completely necessary to have a completely different style of attachment for a carburetor. Completely necessary. Is there another one? Or is it just stuck on there? It could just be stuck. There we go. Yeah, it was just stuck on there. Never lose these. They're really hard to find. You think you find them in the hardware store or something, and you go home and you try to put them on. No, they're just a little bit too small or too big, and they have to start all over. So don't do that. Now we're getting hung up on something. What are we getting hung up on? Is it the same thing? It just needs to be loosened a little bit. Yeah, just need to be loosened. Stihl engineering. This hasn't been apart in a long time. Probably since it was new. Now, something I have run across a few times with these questionable primer bulbs is that they are just too small for the actual opening. Oh man, I'm gonna work on that real quick. I'm I'm going to show you on the new carb, but basically what I need to do is the line is right here, and I need to move it down from pushing on this piece right here, and then the line should come out. But it's really hard to see, even for me, and the camera and me doing in here is just not going to be, or not. Okay, there we go. Never mind that. We don't need to do that. Now, we should have a little bit more room here to work with this line. There we go. Came off. This one, however, for whatever reason, this one's super petrified. This, actually pretty decent. So we're going to keep that, but we will have to replace this one. So I'm going to get, yeah, I barely pulled on it and it came right off. So I'm going to get a new section of line. Kind of wondering, I think we should be fine. Let's see about this one first, though. This one actually feels pretty good already. There we go. So I'm going to get a new section of line and be right back. Now, here's a tip. If you're going to be reusing line, I like to trim off just a hair, because the end of it might not be good, but the line itself is. So keep that in mind. So we have a carburetor that goes like so. It does look like it's the same. Okay. We'll find out when we put the throttle on. The throttle will be the dead giveaway if this is a good aftermarket piece or not. Because if you're going to have a problem, it's probably going to be with the throttle. Sometimes, oh, no, it worked. The gasket on there was not ripped, so we're not going to worry about it. Now, let's see if this is too small. Yeah, see? That's what I'm talking about right there. It's just super small. Let's see here. Sometimes you can take these apart and put in a new only bulb. Let's get it cleaned up and see if that's a possibility. Worst case scenario, if you break it, then, well, it's not like it's not already broken, but that would be, in my opinion, a better solution. Let's see what we can do. It's not looking too likely, is it? Ow. Hand cramp. Yeah, let's see if I have another one. I do. It's one of these that has a little spring in there. It's also aftermarket. I think it came with a different kit, but I kept them just in case. This actually will fit though, so that's a better option than what we were currently working with. So I think we will continue on. Now, the fun part is trying to remember which way is in and which one's out. So this one is pulling fuel, that's returning fuel. So the way these work, they don't push fuel through a carburetor, they pull through a fuel through the carburetor. So this is the out in the carb, that goes in the in, which same orientation as the other one, so that's good. Because the long line was on the bottom of the other one. There we go. That should make it a little easier on us. Now let's push this a little bit further out so we have a little bit of working room, shall we? This one, maybe a pair of pliers will be useful. There we go. And push this through. Or you can't see anything, but this is not the easiest procedure in the world with this type of line. I don't have any more black line, I only have this type of line. Need to make an order. There we go. We did forget this one on the bottom a little bit, but that's fine. That one's easy enough. There we go. Okay, now when we close this and prime it, it should. There we go. Perfect. Now we need to work on that coil. So the coil, you need to have a little bit of a gap in between the flywheel and the coil. That should be 10,000ths of an inch, which is usually a business card, or I measured this. This is roughly about the same thickness. It's about a little, according to the caliper, it's like 9.8 thousandths of an inch or whatever it was. It's like so negligible you can barely even tell. So let us take our new coil. These screws of the finer threads are going to be the ones that go into metal. So if you ever find yourself confused on what went where, just realize that is it. And in addition to that, this wire was on this part. And then we have one more. Sometimes there's an isolator. I don't see one here. There we go. Starting to wonder for a second there. So let's tighten these up a little bit here. Save ourselves a little bit of finger tightening. And actually it wasn't tight, by the way. See? So what side has the magnet? Yeah, that side. So let us get you a better view. There we go. So we have our here paper, and then we spin the motor over. There we go. I'm just going to tighten it from the other side. There we go. Now technically when we move, there we go. Now when we spin it, it shouldn't. Perfect. Okay. Now all we need to do is connect our, ooh, that doesn't feel very good. Cable here, or for a kill. There we go, that's much better. And we route this cable the way the other one was, and we should be ready to go. I'm not going to connect the spark plug quite yet, but that should be about it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the, it just seems like it's not right, doesn't it? Oh, okay. There's a little guide for this cable, so I'm going to shove that back in there, make this a little tighter, Anyway, I'm going to put the cover back on and put the carburetor, everything back together, the cover for the air filter or whatnot. I'll bring it back and we'll see if this thing pops off. Something I need to mention is before you wait for the people to make an exceptionally large amount of noise outside. Anyway, before you put everything away, you're really going to want to make sure your throttle works appropriately and everything still primes. Because if you try to prime and all of a sudden you really don't get any more fuel and your primer bulb doesn't fill up anymore, two things are happening. One, you're pinching a line, your fuel's not working, and two, if your throttle isn't moving or is stuck in any way, it should be touching the idle screw, then the aftermarket carb isn't fitting right and you need to kind of do a little bending. I got lucky. This one appears to be a fairly decent aftermarket, so we're good to go. So I just want to mention that you want to do this before you put the cover on, because that cover's not the funnest thing to put back on. Let me bring you up to speed of what just occurred. As you can tell, we have the old recoil. However, it is working fairly decently. I cleaned it up a little bit, blew some compressed air on it, put a little bit of oil, and it seemed like it cleared up. It was just dirty. So that's good. Now, the reason why we're having to do that, don't mind my reach, is this one is not right. You would assume it would go like this. And I did too. Unfortunately, it would have to go like this, because this cutout is meant for the recoil. So, yay. I don't know how they messed that up, but they did. So this is now going to go into the return bin. I'm not paying for that nonsense, but this one's working good. Everything seems like it's functioning properly. The choke works, primer bulb works. I put the the cover back on. Everything seems like it's fitting well. So let's give it a pull and see what happens. The weatherman said today that it was supposed to be cloudy but no rain until about 8 o'clock p.m. And that was this morning at 10 o'clock p.m. And it is now 12 and it's raining. So congrats, weatherman. And I get it. The whole percentage is a zip code. It's at 0%. But it's raining. Anyway. This has a switch you have to hold down, so let's turn it to choke. Yeah, that's choke. Let's prime it a little bit. Let's pull on it just to make sure. It could use a little bit of a tune. I was going to do it on camera, but it's really hard without any light. So I might do that off camera, bring it back. But as of right now, it seems like it's running. Idles a little bit. Like I said, needs a hair of a tune, but it's also cold. So I'm going to let it run for a good, 3-4 minutes outside, and then we'll see what exactly it turns out to be. But it's running. Pull cord. No problem. Carburetor doing good. I don't see any leaks. Everything looks like it's good to go. Starts up pretty easy. The coil, if it was bad, it would either A, not start at all, or B, it would have a really hard time at high RPMs. It's not having a hard time at high RPMs, so I think it's actually fine. So that's good news. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to, like I said, let it run, maybe fine tune it. I don't think I'll bring you back for that because that's many videos on that. So if you have one of these older Stihl 450s and you're having the problem, check the carb, and if you have a consistent problem of this coming undone, the boot for the spark plug, buy a new one. Like I said, the owner said that this is a very common problem for him and he just would rather not have to deal with it. And to fix that, you would have to shove this in there, shove it through the cable. Sometimes this kind of where this punctures gets egged out and you have to find a new puncture, then who knows if that's really going to work very well. So it's best, in my opinion, just repair it or replace it. So having said that, we should be good to go. If you like what you see, keep watching, subscribe, follow me on Instagram at SmallEngine101. If you have any comments, definitely leave a comment below. If you have any questions, leave a comment below. If this helped you out, put a thumbs up because that helps me out, and I'll catch you on the next one. You have a good night. Yeah, see, I told you I would get it idled pretty good.